What are your thoughts on LinkedIn though? Because everyone's trying to look more like a journalist than marketer. So what can people do differently according to you?
So what makes Arnav Goswami different than other reporter? Opinionating. So don't shy from having your own opinion.
There's a saying, right? That when the market zigs, you zag, because people aren't focusing on that, and as a result, there's an opportunity there.
But I have mixed thoughts there. Sometimes, we get too focused on category creation because it's too sexy and doing the zag that we miss the opportunity that's already lying in the zig.
Why not content anymore? Go back to your channel. Still, there are a lot of comments. People are expecting you to put out more content. Why do you choose to not do that anymore?
Because I still look at content as marketing. So I'm experimenting a little, and I also realize that I'm not the best at it. What businesses can be born out of YouTube in India? I think any business that needs the business to look like an expert or an advisor can be born out of YouTube. Dirty your hands and test multiple things. You get clarity. Clarity is achieved by testing multiple things.
Do you look at it as a great decision to go to Manipal? Do they have a great entrepreneurial culture?
Yes. Manipal was a great community, so that was a blessing. But that's a consultant. What does he consult companies on?
Same business.
Cargo.
Cargo, sea freight, forwarding. Not everyone can do it. You have to have a license. Government has to issue a license to you to do an exam.
Consult so कर सकते हैं या नहीं?
You can consult, but if you have a license, then it's a plus key. You can also
can sell yourself well. I'm also a practitioner.
Yeah. So basically, when you take a goods out of the customs department, it needs a seal, and it needs a license against the seal.
Right.
So companies have license or individuals have license. So what companies do is they sponsor individuals. So my dad had it back in the 90s. He still has it. So people come to him because he knows the law. So he'll tell you what your duty will be like, what is the process for getting clearance.
Got it.
Etc. etc.
So, okay, his clients are all the businesses.
Yeah.
Nice.
Arvind, Fashion, Tommy
Good money to be
Hilfiger,
made there.
stuff
Have
like
you heard of this company called Zetwork?
Zet.
Work.
No.
These guys do something very interesting. They take these factories that make this thing on lease.
Warehouses?
Machinery parts, precision parts. उन सबको वो lease पे लेते हैं. And they sell. So basically, a lot of the demand of manufacturing that used to go to China, they've brought it to India. They act as an intermediary. B2B, sort of like a B2B managed marketplace. And these guys are doing $2 billion in revenue in just like 4 years. Do a lot of it's like proper taking contracts from the US, subleasing it to Indian factories, and then sending it back to the US. Is that something that...
Not exactly, but say for example...
This is more of a supply chain startup.
Yeah.
Your dad was into logistics.
Managing entire supply chain.
Yeah.
So it's basically finding a vendor for... so for example, Nike wants to come to India. They'll find Nike airline or a sea freight carrier. Figure out so you can't buy all space and all
okay, so
all
they
together,
bring
right?
Nike to India. Consumer brands to India.
So exactly. So
वहाँ से धंधा इधर.
No, so Nike will basically contact my dad's company and say, we need a shipment of 2,000 tons of shoes, for example. They'll call their air and sea freight providers. They'll buy space. So you have to buy cargo space. So you can buy it in futures, which is another business, or you buy it on the base of requirement. So daily the rate changes because everything is forex based.
Right.
So you manage that.
And that's how you make money also.
Yeah.
No? Proper trading.
You lose money also because the dollar rates, if it fluctuates and your rupee goes
you're
up,
sitting on the edge of
exactly.
this thing, no? That's where you make and lose money.
Yeah. So I started there. I did my first job in that line of work. I did almost a year.
With your dad or elsewhere?
He recommended me to a very small company, 7 people. He said, you'll learn more.
Go
I said,
struggle.
yes. So, struggle. But struggle too much.
Shouldn't we record this?
Yeah, I think it is. They are recording.
Oh, we're on. What did we start with? Zetwork?
No, I think it started with what I was saying about the business and company. Where are you from? Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I think we should just keep going.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anyway, I also spent that much time in Delhi then, 8 years. Good fun. So first language I learned was Hindi. And then my family was very upset. I can't speak.
What did you speak to your family in?
Hindi. First, I think when I was 3 years old, I spoke only Hindi. Nothing else.
Nice.
That was a problem.
I also spent until the age of 11, I'd spent most of my life in Delhi. 11, yeah, around the age of 11, I went to Jamnagar. Now I mean, everyone knows Jamnagar.
Yeah.
Now I went there for Air Force Jamnagar. That's where my dad was posted. But yeah, I think, I mean, no offense to you, but I'm the Delhiite here in the conversation.
Of course.
I never want to be in Delhi again. Like, I would love to visit Delhi. I like the vibe of Delhiites. But I think most of the Delhi ecosystem, be it in terms of people or infra or just the climate, is just not. I mean, I don't think any Bangalorean would want to go back to Bangalore.
No way.
Yeah, my dad is himself, he's like, he did his last posting before retirement in Delhi and he's moved to Bangalore. Yeah, he doesn't want to live in Delhi again either.
I am not surprised. My dad had a similar feeling towards the end of it.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot of, say, cultural differences also. Like I came here, I remember I was 8 years old. I did not know English, right? I just didn't know English because no one spoke in English in Delhi. I couldn't fit into school because everybody in school spoke English.
In Delhi?
Yeah, no, here in Bangalore. So I moved from in Vikaspuri in Delhi, moved to Malleshwaram in Bangalore. There's a heartland of old Bangalore crowd. And
they're English first.
Kannada first, Kannada second or Kannada first. Tamil still works, but nothing else. So it's a huge problem. So it took me a while to get grip of it. So spend the next few years learning English, then later few years learning Kannada. So yeah.
That happened to me actually. It did happen to me I've never studied in Bangalore. It happened to me when I was studying in a school in Ghaziabad, which is like Ghaziabad is in Uttar Pradesh. So that's where I did the first set of schooling. Then I switched schools at the age of 9. I went to an Air Force school, Air Force Wal Bharati School, which is on Lodi Road. I think it's part of Lutyens, Delhi. There, the first cultural shock came because from a school where it was English medium, but people would talk in Hindi, to a school that is English medium and people are talking in English. That was like a first cultural shock for me. So these schools do exist in Delhi. They're just in, South Delhi and Lutyens Delhi kind of region. Delhi has certain very well planned regions. And I think Delhi infra actually is really good.
Yeah,
like the roads are really good if you're in the right part of Delhi. For the longest time in Delhi Cant, Dhaula Kuan, and in and around those, and Delhi Cant is massive. It's huge. Yeah. The roads are so beautiful. Like I don't think I've seen that infra in Bangalore. My dad was posted in Bangalore as well, like Mekri Circle.
Yeah.
Training command. That has some very well planned infra inside. Yeah. But apart from that, Bangalore is very bad on roads and stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
It's always
like good. HSR, come on. I mean, HSR, I take a walk. I'm seeing the best of the best companies who are, really very abuzz on internet and the startup news circle, but then they're on such shitty roads.
Yeah. True.
It's just their logos that look pretty on that road.
True. I agree with you.
But yeah.
Anyway, coming back to marketing. So I was trying to go back and look at what all you have done. I remember, like I told you when we first spoke, which is just a couple of days ago, about your reels catching my attention. I think today, if you look at the marketing landscape, especially in performance marketing, everyone talks about UGC reels, right? With the creator and with hooks and with something that retains your attention every 3 seconds and stuff like that. When I look back to your reels, which were you were doing a series of Jasusi, right? Those reels actually had all of those elements in. And I remember vividly maybe a couple of them, one with Vaibhav and the other one Sisinti. And
Vaibhav, I think I did a long form with.
Yeah, but the show, I'm talking about I think you had a smaller edit on Insta maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
And there was one other, which is about you were trying to decode something else. I remember those two, I think it was a while ago, right? 2 years back? Yeah.
And probably more.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, wow. So like, I was a little, like I usually reels don't like stop me and I don't like try to think why someone's doing something, but it was very fascinating. What is the story behind that? How did you...
Yeah, somewhere in Avalon, Avalon was a company that Varun Shashank and I ran. We had this thought process, and it obviously stemmed from Varun, that you have to do a little bit of drama to be relevant in the eyes of people and, capture attention. So we've always, even when we did education, we did edutainment. And I think that was the mindset that shaped, or that was a mindset that leaned us to, or motivated us to think about hooks and what clicks, what doesn't. Donning a character. There was something that Varun would speak about. Was there was an American character called Dr. Disrespect, and that guy would start his live streams with the little bit of suspense. There's a timer going on, and he's coming in. His entries almost like Undertaker, and nobody probably knows his real name. He's always dressed in red. He has a costume, and that's where he starts his live stream. This guy is a gamer. He does gaming live streams. So, all those things motivated us to sort of think in that direction. And that's how I, pulled off a character of Jasu. So it was, I think this was in the playbook of Avalon. We always knew that this is the way to capture attention if you want to do it.
What did Avalon essentially do? What sort of a company was it?
Avalon Meta was into education.
Right.
And eventually we used our learnings from education to build a software called Avalon Scenes, which was a software to host education communities. Eventually, we also, hosted other communities like some of the biggest banks in India, financial communities. But yeah, that was the company.
Right. So that was a B2B or a B2C product?
It was initially B2C. When we sold our own courses, when Varun taught, Shashank taught, and I taught, we had an audience. We ran the entire online ecosystem of education, where you also simulate a university. So that's when it was B2C. But then we thought that it would be best for us to take this infra that allows you to run a digital university, that is including the community, including the campus feel, including the voice room. So we built that out into a product and then sold it to other education companies, and eventually other companies also found a fit.
Got it. So initially, was the product more a teacher-led course, or was it you had your own proprietary and then you were trying to, like, difference I would say is more like Growth School and Growth X probably?
It was always under the banner of Avalon Meta, but there were three people who were carrying it on their shoulders, Varun, Shashank, and I. Because, when you're starting a company from scratch and you're getting into a market with minimal funds, you need to really be creative to capture attention. So we realized that faces work better than brands, and we were early on this realization as well. We had this realization back in 2019 that creators are a thing and creator-led companies. So we built a creator-led company in 2020.
Right, quite early.
Yeah.
In comparison to what people are doing now.
Yeah, so that really helped us. Today, everyone's trying to pivot their company into a creator-led company. But yeah, that allowed us. That gave us a first mover advantage.
Right.
Oh, I wouldn't say first mover advantage because nobody was doing what we were doing, but more like it allowed us to differentiate ourselves with minimal spend online.
Got it. So, and this is 2020. So you guys ran that for what, 3 years, 4 years?
For I think about a year and a half, after which we pivoted to Avalon Scenes.
Right.
We ran Avalon Scenes for another, I think, year and a half before we sold it to Unacademy.
Okay, got it. Good exit?
Yeah. It was good for the market that we were in.
All right. Got it.
Yeah.
Right. What is that experience
It wasn't
like?
great. It was good for the market we were in. Yeah.
All right. You were happy at the end of it?
The product is still alive.
Nice.
Unacademy still runs it. It still gets certain, customers. It doesn't retain its name anymore, but it has all of our work that we did. Those landing pages, that product, everything's there. So I think the product would sort of, I don't know if it'll outlive us, but it found a good home, good team to take it further, because it also complements what Graphy is doing. Graphy sells courses, and now they have a community platform to go with it.
And do you guys make money off it while you were running it, or was it more at that time you were just?
Of course, so while we were building the product, we weren't monetizing it because we were also exploring various markets we could go into. Nobody makes money then when you're building the product and refining it. Eventually, once we were near finish, we found a fit with education companies, and some banks. That's when we started monetizing it.
Got it. What is the experience like being a marketer then to build a product?
I think product building was always the job of Varun and Tejas. Tejas was like, I think he's they say 10x engineers. He's literally a 10x engineer. He's really good at that. So Varun's really good at product. Tejas really good at building tech. Wherein I actually built a product was on the growth side. How do we build a combination of assets that continuously drive leads, continuously drive engagement. So that kind of product that's the only kind of product I know how to build. I call it growth product. You can have it inside the app, wherein you can call a referral loop within an app a growth product. You can call an SEO engine a growth product. Today, not today, back in 2020, we also looked at our content as product. Because it's something that you've created and you've left it online, and it's going to do its job to drive leads or awareness or trust to you.
Right.
So that product first thinking was always there, and I think even I heard this term for the first time from Beer Biceps 2019. He was like, I look at I don't know if he said it about IPs, but he's like, every episode is a product. Because his episodes still get watched. Sometimes you find yourself watching something that he recorded 5 years ago. So it's still working. These are probably, his YouTube channel is a compilation of 1,000 products.
Right.
So you have to look at it as product. I don't think product can only be coded, but you can... If you start looking at something as a long-lasting asset, you will make it like a product.
Right. True. Yeah. Fair. In fact, products traditionally were non-software, non-technology related. Right?
For sure, and not traditionally. I mean, even now, the chocolate bars, the namkeens, the apparel that you wear, all of it is non-tech. Yes, but I mean, you won't find those sexy Bangalore product managers working on apparels.
True.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, that product word has taken on a new meaning, but everything's a product. This is a product.
But I think it's only in Bangalore
That's only in Bangalore. Yes, Bangalore is a bubble.
Yeah, you go outside and say product, people think traditional.
And it's very important to go outside because the business is outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if you want to make money, if you want to look at profitable businesses and P&Ls, it's predominantly outside of Bangalore. If you want to look at it.
What do you consider? I mean, I also have been thinking about what businesses can be profitable from get-go.
Anything that's very boring and repetitive.
I mean, that's
easy.
A very Twitter answer.
No. But I've been thinking about this. I watched this episode of this entrepreneur called Cody Sanchez, and I didn't discover she buys laundromats. Yeah, she buys random things. She invests into random businesses like a car wash and a cash flow businesses essentially. And she's talking about how that has actually worked for her. And it's a great strategy. So, I mean, I've consumed very little, but I discovered her 2-3 months ago.
That's what she's known for.
Yeah. But there's actually great insight there because I think the market, there's a saying, right, that when the market zigs, you zag, which is if everyone's chasing
that,
it's I think Adam Newman,
Martin Newman
from the book Brand Gap.
Yeah.
So fantastic book. I recommend that to anyone who wants to learn brand in its truest form. I think that's the greatest.
Tell me more about it. I've heard this quote, but what does he really say? I think he's a designer at heart, no?
Yeah. Okay. So I think he tries to define what is a brand.
So when the market zigs, you zag. In the sense, like when the market is following a certain style guideline, you do a complete 360 or whatever, 180.
That's because people aren't focusing on that, and as a result, there's an opportunity there. So
only for style and brand, or is it also for?
I think it's from a lens of business. Actually comes from positioning.
But I have mixed thoughts there. Which is having done the businesses that I have, is sometimes we get too focused on category creation because it's too sexy and doing the zag that we miss the opportunity that's already lying in the zig. There's more often than not, there's more opportunity in zig than there is in zag.
True. Fair. You mean to do what is already done? Basically.
I mean, it has competitors. It's a proven market. There's money to be made. Yeah. You can zag in an industry that's already zigging, but some people take the zag too far.
Fair. True. But I think that's also because now for the last 10 years, entrepreneurship is on a mountain, it's on a pedestal. Everyone wants to become,
That's true.
Wants to get featured in your story or any other publication. And that too, all of the news is about your valuation, not about actually
No,
business performance.
now it's becoming
changing.
It's changing.
But that's
now
because you
people
don't
are
have money.
valuing revenue. That
That's
you're
because of the interest
profitable.
rates, right? You don't have, the VCs don't have as much money as they did before.
Yes, the macros control the narrative.
Now it'll change because probably Trump's in and then he will.
I think people are also getting educated over time. The VC era was very new and still is very new to the Indian ecosystem. People don't know how VC works. People don't know how funding works, and people don't know whether it's celebratory or not. Sometimes it's just raising funds is celebratory.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be raising $20 million and eventually you may not find a product market fit and you have to return your capital. Those realities are there, and people hadn't seen those realities in the past. People are like, $20 million mil gaya, that's all yours. Just take home money, go buy a yacht with it. That doesn't happen. So I think that's coming to light. People are getting educated. Nobody knew all these. I didn't know all these things.
You raised money, right, for Scenes? How was that experience?
Didn't take us a lot of time. It was, I remember the very first round that we raised pre-2020. That was something because we were running a services company, and services company is, with the amount of risk that we were taking, we were living paycheck to paycheck. What I mean by that is, sure, we were making a lot of money, but we were also investing a lot in growth. So it had become paycheck to paycheck. Whatever we were making, we were reinvesting that. So getting out of that grind, it was a relief to raise the first money. But eventually, after that, I don't think funding helps beyond a certain point. And today I think the experienced people are in the mindset that money is not the scarce resource. Money is in fact an abundant resource. It's your team, it's the product, it's the understanding of the market, it's your decisions and the direction that you take. That's the game, because money is available. Money can be arranged for via various vehicles. But so what I'm saying is, you obviously enter the workforce or the market with a different understanding of money. I have a little more mature understanding of money, finance and capital today. But I think going back to what we were talking about, that fund valuation is celebrated more than revenue. I think that's changing because the ecosystem is educating themselves. And I could be biased because I've also seen the game once. So I value revenue more. But I see that buzz around me as well on social media, that people are valuing revenue and people are
they
understanding.
valuing revenue because now the VCs are saying now get profitable? It could be that also, right?
Nahin yaar, I think it's not got much to do with VC also. I'm also seeing a lot of gung-ho around bootstrap businesses who are able to take it slow and sustainably. And the good thing about bootstrap businesses, you can pull the profits out of business. Although it's hard to, get to the place where you can pull profits out of the business because of, in case you want to build a sizable business. But the people are seeing, people are gravitating towards that. It's becoming attractive.
Right.
And mostly for second-time founders. But this narrative is definitely there. I'm not the first one seeing
No,
this.
fair. In fact, I also met someone recently who I was asking what's so they run a service, and I was like, what's scale for you, right? So you have 10 clients, 30 clients, 100 clients. What's the direction? So I think he had a number in mind saying I'll cap it at 15. And at 15 clients, he will earn maybe X multiple of it.
Because you optimize for net, no, Baba.
And
it's
he's
not just about revenue.
Yeah, he's not chasing the 100. So he's very comfortable being in that zone of 15 to 20.
Indeed.
And remaining there for about, which is actually very good because
it is.
That's also a side of entrepreneurship and business which is not spoken about as much, because everyone says, oh, you're starting a business, then it's very binary, right? Either you failed or you're a roaring success.
I think 90% of people who have a misunderstood viewpoint of business are not in business. These guys are not in...
what are they in?
No, they're not taking money decisions. They're not seeing revenue. They're probably focused on something else, but they're not looking at the cash flow part of business. These guys look at the news and whatever news has them believe. And news is also written by journalists.
Yeah.
Today, sure, you'll see a lot of business owners and founders coming out and voicing their narrative on YouTube. But for the longest time, the news has been written by journalists, and journalists don't have as mature
Evolved.
understanding of business as a businessman would have.
So, given everything you're saying, it just seems like you've had multiple entrepreneurial stints. You've done something well before all of this, right? Before Scenes, and I think you had a stint at Your Story. I was looking through your LinkedIn.
Your Story, I was doing a little bit of content. It was like a fun vacation for me. I would have certain curiosities about how businesses work, how Bangalore startup ecosystem works, and I would come up with these. I would come up with these curiosities. I would ask my reporting manager that, hey, can we go? Can me and the cameraman go and ask these questions to this person? So I had the chance to speak with the CEO of Vernacular back then. I also spoke to CEO of Unacademy, Gaurav, back then. I also spoke to a bunch of people. Unacademy CEO back then, Mayank. I got access to a lot of people. Then it was a short 6-month long stint, and it was also the final semester internship for me back in college. So I'd found the best internship that would be for me.
Right, and there's something else you did before that, Campus Connect.
So in Manipal. Manipal has a very good ecosystem for setting up a student business. They have something called. They have a business incubator. They give you your own office. They allow you to be there for however long, and because the entire student town has more than 40,000 students at any given point of time, you're also able to get good, motivated talent, which has come from all over the world and some of the best of the cities. Because Manipal is slightly expensive, so you end up finding talent or people who are from Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore more than other cities. So found some really good talents, found some really good people to work with, ran a bunch of things, made a little bit of money, but it was a great experience. That's when I realized that, hey, there's digital is something, and you can be sitting in Manipal and you can make things happen in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Kolkata, Pune. That's what I did. I was sitting in my dorm in Manipal, and I was able to build teams in all these metropolitan cities, give people internships in these cities, and also run events in all these cities, offline physical events, while I was still in Manipal. So I was like, okay, hey, digital is something. And this was back in 2014, 2013. Today, all this seems very natural that, I can be here and, sell online and all that. Back then, it was very, very new, because Jio only came in like 2016.
Yeah.
And 2013, 2014, people weren't really always plugged in. 3G was also slightly expensive. I remember that in 2013, 1 GB for 1 month would cost about $350. That was the rate that we were going at, and 3G phones were new, so it's not like we were always plugged in. Sometimes WhatsApp would also struggle.
Right.
So for that time, that realization that digital is something, and you're not bounded by your geographical area, was something big for me.
Right.
And when I got a taste of it, I got hooked.
So was it, in retrospect, do you bless, or rather do you look at it as a great decision to go to Manipal? Do they have a great entrepreneurial culture?
Yes, because see, you need to have certain amount of risk appetite in case you want to take the risk. And when you are coming into a college like Manipal, which is not very affordable, that means you're already coming from a background wherein you're given a lot of things. When you're given a lot of things, you can either choose not to do anything at all and just, have fun in college, or you can take a few risks because there's nothing that you have to lose. So, and you can take those risks more seriously because you literally know that the fall is not going to hurt. So I happen to meet a few people who belong to the latter category, and that was great fun.
Right.
And these guys weren't these guys came from all walks of life. Somebody's dad was a software engineer. Somebody himself got placed in Microsoft later on. somebody hailed from Dubai, somebody was a German citizen but an Indian. I mean, a very, very good crowd I got.
Right.
So that was a blessing, yes.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because sometimes, not sometimes, actually all the time.
Manipal was a great community, if I can say that, yeah.
So the reason I asked is because most people who have clarity in thought, right, in terms of what they want, what they don't, I think they have had a kind of a past where they've tried different things, they've tasted different things, and they know what the plus and the minus are, and then discovered themselves in the journey. So when I asked you the other day as well, which is when you tasted content and then you've tasted also entrepreneurship, and then you've done a bits and pieces, and content is actually quite honestly, if you look at it, if you really crack it, then it's very easy because it's easy to do. It's not that easy to do, but it's relatively a lot easier than running a business, right? Or to be an entrepreneur for that matter, and be responsible for people and stuff.
Doing any skill and exclusively focusing on that skill is a privilege. You can say it's easy, but it's also a privilege.
Sure,
because some people are working hard to give you that privilege.
True, yeah. Very true. All right, but if you're able to, if you've tasted that, then the question I asked you the other day, which is why not content anymore? Because go back to your YouTube channel. Still, there are a lot of comments. People are expecting you to come back and restart your show. People are expecting you to put out more content. So why did you choose to not do that anymore?
See, I realized that just doing content became a little bit of boring. And I realized that, the personality and the character that I had donned of Jasus, it might have clicked well for certain people. I became unconvinced and disillusioned with it that, hey, at the end of the day, I'm going to the same audience, which is 18 to 25 years old. I had sort of gotten done with that audience. I enjoyed creating for more mature audiences, which are employed and solving a certain kind of problems. A close analogy I can give you. Have you heard of GrowthX?
Yeah.
I think GrowthX is doing what it's doing amazingly well. They're doing such nuanced content. They're doing such well-researched content. It is tactical. It has... it's business journalism. It's like literally business journalism that also appeals to an average viewer. I can tell you that's the that's the kind of content that actually excites me, and that's the kind of content I would like to create over time. So I'm experimenting a little. I am figuring out how to get into creating that kind of content that also appeals to massy audience, or at least an average Bangalorean. But I think apart from that, Hindi content which strategically appeals to masses, I think I stopped enjoying that. And I also realized that I'm not the best at it. It may have looked that I've gotten a little bit of success, but I'd realized that I won't be able to sustain that for long. And if it's not sustainable, it's not meant for me. What I started enjoying more, and what, I also did some retrospection. Like you said, when you dirty your hands and test multiple things, you get clarity. Clarity is achieved by testing multiple things. So I got the clarity that I enjoyed B2B more because there's a certain nuance and low entry barrier. Not everyone can enter B2B because it needs some understanding of business. It needs a little bit of business acumen, which I think is my advantage over a random or over an average person. And I like playing with that advantage. And second thing is I like speaking to that audience of 100,000 people, probably in the whole of the country, that understands these things.
Right. But B2B is also sometimes, I speak to a lot of marketers.
It's not B2B, it's just mature audiences who are...
so it could be B2C as well.
Yeah, but business journalism is what excites me.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Some form of that. And what I was doing wasn't exactly that.
Yeah, it was more business entertainment.
It was business sense making back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, this is how it works and let me explain it to you. Today it's like, this is...
It's reporting on the back of something that's happened, or
possibly.
Or decoding something.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, this is... I think I would enjoy more of what I did back at Your Story 7-8 years ago. And that's something I'm going to try to get back into. Because, as you can't be done with content. It's... Even if I wanted to, I can't stop creating content because it's such an absolute necessity today. So, I feel that when you know who you're going after, when you have names of the 10 people that you're going after, it just becomes easy to go to them. Sure, these guys are decision maker and surrounded by gatekeepers, but when you know who you're going after, it becomes way easier than playing the consumer game where you're going after 100,000 people and some 2,000 of them would convert. Because I still look at content as marketing. And in today's, in my case today, I'm a consultant. I help companies with their marketing. So it helps to know who are the 10 people I'm going after and making content that is relevant to them. I like playing that game because the amount of ambiguity and uncertainty is reduced heavily for me. I know that these are the 10 people. This is what they care about. This is their taste. I will make something that directly appeals to them. So that's the game I like playing.
It's actually interesting because unless you do B2B, right? Unless you spend some time, it's very hard to fall in love with it. Or at least the type of marketing that you're defining.
I mean, I think I've fallen in love with the business and B2B just makes it easy for me. It's a good fit for me.
Also in B2B, from my experience, at least when they really do decide to market, they're very serious about it. Right. And secondly, it's also comes from a very technical space. So generally the kind of people you find in those rooms are very, very sharp in decision making or in terms of what
they understand business because they're dealing internally. They're dealing with
businesses.
I mean, they cater to businesses.
Exactly. Right.
And it's not like I don't like playing the consumer game. I also think content has very little, like if you become a content creator, the paths to monetization for you in India, I don't see a more sustainable path than doing courses. Because you can't, I've not seen any success story in India that's like Mr. Beast's Feastables and this guy's Logan Paul's Prime. Because I don't know, maybe it'll come out in the near future.
It's only education-led businesses, I guess.
That's what's happened in India. And I don't know, maybe because, I work with a few retail brands and most of their money profitably is because it's still coming out of general trade and modern trade. So maybe in India...
and no one wants to do that. It's not sexy.
It's not sexy, but it makes money. And that's what the best brands are doing. And that's what the best brands value as well. So I don't know. I haven't seen much of a content play in... consumer in India apart from education. So if I didn't want to do education anymore, there was no point doing that as well. What consumer plays do, I mean, where there is scope or where somebody should dive into when they're playing a consumer game is not so much of YouTube and Instagram. It's more of how can you innovate with the offline distribution, quick commerce, and Amazon, because that's where these businesses start. And obviously, performance marketing is still very much alive in any consumer brand. So I don't think there's much of an opportunity there either, unless you want to get into education. If you can get into education YouTube is your fundamental funnel.
Right.
But apart from that, I don't think so.
You don't think long-term?
I think there's a bigger opportunity in B2B today than there is in...
You mean from a revenue generation and profitability perspective? From a lens of...
I'm looking at content only as a business driver.
Right.
I don't create content for art.
Yeah. So don't you think there's some merit in creating content for your own personal long-term brand?
Eventually, what is long-term brand? Someday it's going to drive revenue, right?
Right.
5 years down the line. Not so much, but yeah. And that's what I'm saying. In B2B, it doesn't have to take 5 years because you've established your first touch point today. Maybe it'll take 6-7 months because B2B sales cycles are long. And in this case, I'm purely talking about me as a consultant cracking some of the biggest of the clients. That would only happen. The cycle may last a year, but in consumer, I don't think that content funnel works so well in consumer in India, apart from education.
Right.
I haven't seen it enough. B2B, it works really, really well. I don't think there are enough takers for that opportunity, which makes me very happy to operate in that area for now.
No, you're right. Because if it's not education, it's probably media and entertainment. You get a gig in a movie, a show, something like that.
Yes. So you can be a Bhuvan Bam and aim to get into the movies. You can be a Kapil Sharma and aim to get into movies. Although Kapil Sharma was always on TV.
It was very interesting insight that you dropped.
What?
The fact that there's nothing else to do other than education mainly, and then there's
I
maybe
haven't
something.
seen.
Yeah, even I'm trying to recall. I can't find anything. I can't.
Yeah.
Nothing of significance.
I've worked
though.
with the retail brands, and I see them not valuing this enough. I've spoken to, and today, I speak to a lot of growth leaders across industries. I don't see long form content as their main play, apart from those guys who are in education. So there is fintech. I was speaking to head of brand of a major fintech brand in India. He was like, I'm not focusing too much on content. I mean, he has some. He's built channels with over 500,000 subscribers for the same brand, but today he's not doubling down on content because and he's head of brand, by the way. Content and brand sort of, they go hand in. They're the same thing, but he's not focusing on content. He's focusing on something else. What is he focusing on? Maybe brand partnerships, maybe something else. But content is not the bread and butter for all industries. It is for B2B, which is where a great opportunity lies. Nobody is taking it, and it is for education. There is American evidence that it is also for direct-to-consumer brands, but there is no Indian evidence there. There are some direct-to-consumer brands that are heavily dependent on education of the customer, in the sense, Man Matters, Be Body Wise. These guys educate you about the chemicals that they're using before they sell you the product.
Whole truth.
Huh?
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
It's transitioning out of it, but yes.
Transitioning out of content?
No, I'm saying transitioning out of the education space.
I mean, there's not much of an education to do. It's marketing. But I don't know how much they can do it, because in direct-to-consumer businesses, food is not really a business where you can play the direct-to-consumer game well, because DTC also requires you to have a certain net margin that you can play on, and food doesn't have that in India. What has that in India is where the brands like Mamaearth and Sugar Cosmetics have been built, because they have anywhere between 70 to 90% gross margins. Food doesn't have as much.
Yeah.
Food has about 40-ish% gross margin and all that. And if you get into DTC, someday you're going to have to run ads. And if you have to run ads, those 40% margin is not enough to build a profitable business. Yeah. So it is possible for these gummies brands, nutraceutical brands, cosmetics, etc. brands. These guys are doing well on DTC. But again, even there, I haven't seen long form or short form content do wonders for their.
So when you say long form, what is your definition of long
YouTube.
form? Okay, fair.
Yeah, YouTube series.
Anything more than a minute, 2 minutes? Is that what you define as long form?
I don't know, 7 minutes, 10 minutes,
Fine,
15 minutes,
fair.
1 hour.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
Short form is reels for me. Anything that's not reels, that it's a long form.
Yeah, okay, fine. That's the definition I was looking for. You're right about it. I think it's also because it's hard
But
to
I
create.
want to hear from you. Have you? Let's consider the entire YouTube ecosystem today. People who've built businesses on YouTube, have they been able to build a business that's not education related? I can think of, because I'm also testing this hypothesis. I can think of TechBurner. I think he sells mobile jackets. I don't know how much of it is driven on his brand.
So it's also important to note what is the size of that business, right?
Yeah.
So because if you are not even taking a small percentage out of an already existing category, then it's nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
So
it's a hobby.
Let's keep that size at least 50 to 100 crores.
Right.
100 crores. 100 crores is a sizable business.
Yeah. I don't think there's an influencer today at that scale. Or a creator.
Maybe education.
Education, yes. I think I'm pretty certain 1% club financial.
Sharan will hit 100 crores in the next year or so. But he's also not doing it purely out of education. He's also doing it with advisory.
Correct. That's
advisory is so yeah. Maybe a consulting business can be born out of this thing.
No, I think that's a very technical area that he's taken, right? Because he can't do He can't do what he's doing without advisory.
He can't do what he's doing without advisory.
It's a SEBI regulation. So if you're educating people and telling them where to invest in terms of stocks, etc., then you do need an advisory license. I think that's why
you can get it, right? It's not like
he's got
impossible.
it now.
It's not impossible.
Yeah. So he got it now. As a result, I think that business is not anymore pure education. I think it's a service. But he will do 100, I think, easily, if he's not already.
So I have a thesis. I keep thinking about it. What businesses can be born out of YouTube in India? I think any business that needs the business to look like an expert or an advisor can be born out of YouTube. So sure, that's education. You need to have respect for the teacher. Teacher has to look like an expert so that you want to learn from him. Next is advisory. Now you can do advisory in finance, or you can do elsewhere. That's why you see a lot of, so you see a sudden burst of these financial wealth planners who are paying to get featured on these biggest of podcasts. These are guys who are paying to get featured on there.
Yeah.
So these are advisors who are showcasing their wealth on some of the biggest podcasts, so that they are taken by their so that they're taken seriously by their clients. This is in 10 years ago, this would be called PR.
Exactly.
I would get a Times of India to publish me so that my clientele looks at me with respect.
Right.
That's what they're doing. It's digital PR or whatever. It's podcast PR today, but that's PR. So whichever business really needs PR to survive is the business that can be born out of YouTube. We know it's education. We know it's advisory. Now where else can you
but I think, see, if you
advisory angle.
If you have a business, you can use YouTube to amplify it for sure. Like you could be like there are a lot of these.
By how much?
That's a very interesting question. I think that's down to that entrepreneur and how he leverages it.
So okay,
but the problem is this: if you start focusing too much on content, because it's very gratifying, to be honest, when your content does well, right? You could lose the appetite and that fire to then push on business as well.
Because you're getting your dopamine elsewhere. Possibly.
Fact.
Yeah,
so it's
because
hard.
Yes, fame is addicting.
Yeah.
And with this gratification signals that these guys all these platforms have, I don't know. I mean, I can't say. I actually can't say.
Right.
Then we're generalizing it that, hey, Zomato's going to slow down because Deepinder Goyal is on Kapil Sharma. That doesn't, I don't know. I don't think you can play with that narrative. But okay, let's think about it this way. When a brand becomes too big, sales-focused distribution sort of has diminishing returns. When a brand becomes too big, sales-focused distribution has diminishing returns.
You mean from a omnichannel retail lens, or is it from a digital
I'm giving you an
lens?
example. For this example, let's take a consumable. Let's say, okay, this is not a branded bottle.
But just take origami tissue papers.
Possibly. Or let's take Synthol. Okay. Or a newer brand. So, okay, I'll give you a case study. Yoga Bar. I consult with Yoga Bar. So, these guys are heavy on Amazon, Flipkart, quick commerce. That's their bread and butter, and obviously offline distribution in general trade, which is your general stores of the world, and modern trade, which is your more Big Bazaar kind of stores, D-Mart kind of stores, right? Now, whatever inventory, and if you've gone to a supermarket, you will see sometimes, alongside the shelves, you will also see on the floor there'd be advertisements that are pasted as stickers. There is a lot of creative work on the shelves itself. That's called POS marketing, point of sale marketing. So that's sales focused marketing, right? Point of sale marketing. That POS marketing also has an online version. That is what you do with the search results and recommendations on Amazon, Flipkart, quick commerce. All the quick commerce platforms have ads. Amazon, Flipkart also have ads, right? So that's what you can do. I'm talking about the search focused marketing. So these are your first channels to exhaust. This is where you spend for the first time. And also do a little bit of play wherein you launch other products so that your brand is viewed a certain way. For example, I could be launching pure ghee. And, I do a lot of word of mouth around how pure that ghee is. Now, I'm also launching 5 other products that are not as pure. But because I've marketed that pure ghee, there is a perception that, brand X, which has the most pure ghee in the market, their other 4 products are also very pure, which may not be true. So, that is the kind of play that brands do in India to sort of be perceived differently. So anyway, once you've done all these plays, once you've focused on Amazon, Flipkart, quick commerce, etc., then you've reached a point where the brand has become too big to gain anything more out of this sales focused marketing. That's when you focus on brand marketing. And this, this saturation typically occurs at hundreds of crores in revenue, recurring revenue annually. That's when you focus on brand marketing.
So you're saying you hit a number, so let's say 100, and then until then it's more distribution led
Yes.
focus.
Yes.
So I think that's a playbook.
No, that is the playbook for consumables wherein you don't need too much education of the target audience. Wherever you need too much education of the target audience, you can do long form from day one. Get what I'm saying?
Fair.
To buy a Lay's chips, I don't need to watch a tutorial about how chips are made.
Fair. That's fair. But that's also because maybe that category is pre-existing and then you're tapping into it.
Sure, but not every category needs education. Some things are impulse buys.
Fair. Agreed.
You don't need to see how an iPhone is made to buy an iPhone.
True.
iPhone doesn't have to roll out. Apple doesn't
But
have
that's
to
also
roll.
a function of how well Apple has marketed the first iPhone, right?
Yeah, but Apple didn't have to
It's a category creator.
educate you, no?
I think that first what do you call it, the launch of the iPhone, the 7-8 minute video from
Actually, my bad. Electronics do need to educate you, and who does the education are the tech reviewers.
yeah,
Yeah,
possibly yes, cars,
Gadget Guru.
any gadgets,
Gadget Guru, Tech Burner,
appliances, all of it.
all these guys exist in that ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yes, cars obviously, auto car.
But I think, what I believe is, so I know Yoga Buzz. I was very close to working with them in 2019, 2020. That time when Suhasini was running it. I think now
She's-
husband's involved in it as well. Aditya?
Yeah, but Swasni is still running it.
Yeah. So he had a startup before, right? Genie. I think he had an exit
Yes.
into Practo and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember I was sitting in a room brainstorming for Yoga Bars with their mainline agency. So they had an offline agency who was doing all of the retail and thinking for them from an offline lens. And we were sitting and doing from a digital lens. And we were in a room and we were looking at this new brand that had come in. And it was called And Nothing Else. Okay.
In India,
Yeah.
are they still there?
Yeah. They
I
just
know.
changed the name. It's called The Whole Truth.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was called And Nothing Else. So they rebranded after that.
Ah.
And I was comparing and stuff. So at that time, I looked at it and felt it's a direction that the brand needed to go in. So I think Yoga Bars inherently believed their customers, the ones that they want to go after, are in the retail space. I think digital for them, they looked at it more from the lens of how any FMCG does, which is reminders ki hum hai. It always felt that way.
I mean, a good amount of their business happens online, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it happens via
Which is
quick
what even
commerce.
I felt even in 2019-20 that
No,
it would.
it still happens.
It 100% it would, because
I'm telling you, reality, it happens.
yeah, because I know protein
But it's not
bars.
social media driven,
Yeah, it is platform, your what do you call it, marketplace driven.
and word of mouth as well, because the brand's been around for really
Correct,
long.
exactly, right, and great brand name, like
Yeah.
incredible. I think it's on point for a category. I think it's the most apt
Right.
name that you can think of. I can't think of anything that direct. It's almost as good as Pizza Bakery. Like it's as direct as
Pizza
that.
bakery. Yeah, yeah.
Right. So what I feel that's a call. So most FMCGs, what they do is they have large marketing budgets. Initially, I think there's a lot of initial time when it's a proof of concept phase. Like I've invested in a couple of brands who have been D2C back in 2020. Then they realized retail is the way to go, and then they moved into retail. It's a very, very tough. Modern trade, general trade is tough to crack because there's a lot of we don't know much about it because we don't look at it from that lens from a business. We are more consumers typically, and especially if you're in the digital ecosystem, then you're not aware of that world. But it takes, so firstly your product has to stick. The retail has to reorder it. They have to ready to stock it.
It has to stick and it has to move.
Yeah,
It
there's
has
60
to move. That's when it's sticky.
Yeah, and the 60-day payment cycle. You
Yes.
don't get your money today.
Yeah,
You have
it's
to-
pure off.
everything
It's
reverse on
dhanda.
credit, right? Exactly.
Yes.
So I think typically businesses then tend to focus on what works from a retail distribution lens because then that's more validation for that general trade.
That's a
modern trade
sustainable way of building
Yeah,
business.
exactly.
And it's not like VCs knew any better because VCs are investors at heart, right? It's not like these guys have built consumer brands.
Yeah.
So they have money to invest and to spray and pray and see what really works,
Yeah.
because they're learning via the portfolio companies that they have where they've put in money, and then playbooks are emerging out of that. So yes, a lot of US driven gyan went into Indian startups because that's the only way that we knew of building brands, because not like most of the very few consumer brands founders are coming out of companies that have actually built consumer brands in the past. The people who have the playbook of building consumer brands in the past are of course the big companies like P&G, Reckitt, ITC, HUL. But there are also, I think, more successful consumer brand stories can come out of people who are working for brands like Bikano, Bikaji, Haldirams, and all these brands who've grown in the last 50 years, because they know the playbook of cracking offline. I was speaking to somebody who was ex-P&G, ex-Procter and Gamble. He's now building a home cleaning startup. And he has entry into modern trade from day one because he had relations that he's built.
That's the other thing. It's all relationship based.
Yes.
It's network and
In
connections.
India, business is relationship based. In India, I mean, if you've spoken to, and my family didn't have many businessmen, but I got married into. I like my family. My wife's family has always been into business. They're like core Gujaratis who run dhanda, and these guys really value their relationships. And it's a business that's 5 decades old. Obviously, the concept of funding never existed, but these guys really value relationship because that's what runs their business.
Right.
And you will find the same thing with any businessman who's been in business for the last few decades.
Right.
Very, very important.
Right. Just coming back to the other point that you said, right, which is if you're sub 100 crore, then you typically tend to focus more on POS and
I think this
stuff.
is for consumables. This is a playbook for consumables.
So I think over the last 2 years, I've also been reflecting, because when new brands do come to us and then we have to figure out their go-to market, there's a whole host of things you can do, right? And back in the day, you only went to an ad agency if you really wanted to spend big number and create a big ad film or a big ad campaign and then blast it all around so that everybody gets to know about you. A bit like what Cred maybe did in the in the IPL, which was a complete blast, right? Everybody got to know them and they were available. They were on TV during the most important event of the year, at least for our market. And then they try to then drive conversions on the back of that, which is what most brands typically did. I think with the last maybe 10 years, I think internet first businesses are doing it differently. If you look at the case study of Avao, Skin Science, Man Matters, like you said, all of them have done it bottom up, which is more distribution first. Some have chosen digital distribution, and I think historically a lot of brands have been doing this from an offline distribution sense also, where they're focusing on getting into as many distributors, retailers as possible. And then once they're of a certain size, then they flip the playbook and then they go top down in terms of the
I think products are also very different there are different products work differently on different channels. And I'm learning a lot about this from Suhasini and Aditya both. So protein shakes is going to be, launching for Yoga Bar sometime soon. They don't think it's an Amazon product. They think it's a quick commerce product.
It's what? It's
protein
sachet?
Shake means
It's a
the
full
bottle,
shake?
20 gram protein shake.
Oh, so it's also like you just have to put water and mix it, or is it pre-mixed?
No, it's a protein shake. Like you open it and drink it.
Oh,
on the go.
So it's pre-mixed.
Yeah, it's pre-mixed.
Oh wow.
So I mean, you'll find a lot of these in Europe. Such brands exist. So they're bringing this
very interesting
to the market, and they think of it as a quick commerce product, not an Amazon product. Whereas whey protein is an Amazon product, not so much of a quick commerce product. Whereas a breakfast bar that you grab on the go can be a quick commerce and an offline product, but it's also an Amazon product. But there are different products behave differently. Protein muesli, there's a protein infused muesli that they have, which is not so much of an offline product as per them. Muesli is an offline product, but protein muesli is not an offline product. That's an online product. So different. That's also
could also be price factor, right? I think when you
it's also how audiences buy these things. I think people buy whey protein. Most people would prefer to buy whey protein online more than they would buy offline.
Yeah, because
that's my.
It's also
gut.
A younger audience that probably buys it.
Possibly, I would also think that Man Matters is built like an online brand because it's the way, or even Traya. Have you heard of Traya?
Yeah.
These guys are because they have education at the front end of their funnel. I don't think you can sell these products off the shelf. They're not over the counter products, right?
True. Also, it needs a little bit of diagnosis.
Yeah,
It
it's
needs
sort of
time.
like regimen.
I think it's also the cycle, right? How you sell.
Yeah.
I think if you look at Try or Man Matters, I think they do online consultation. Then they do
Yes.
a
Yes.
series of
Yes.
asking you to submit some
Yes.
blood requests, blood
Yes.
reports sometimes. So there's a back and forth which I think is cumbersome if it's offline, which is what you do when you go to a doctor.
Yeah.
Technically. So
now I'll tell you another way of doing this offline. There's a company called Illuvia. These guys have hard water shampoo. You know, shampoo like if you have hard water, the shampoo sort of
right.
negates the effect of that. These guys sell offline predominantly. They also have an online channel, but prominent as most of the sales is coming offline. It doesn't come from supermarkets. It comes from salons. So their selling partners or distributors are actually salons. So they go on a spree to
Must
partner.
also
with
be a premium product, I assume.
It is a premium product. They don't have to discount because the hairdresser is selling on their behalf, and the salon is getting a commission for themselves. So they also have their incentive. But I think salon, if you Trya would work really well with salons if they explore that channel. So not everything can be sold everywhere.
Yeah, 100%.
Different products for different channels.
Right.
I don't think Man Matters or they might have a few products that can be picked off the counter, but not everything. For some things they would have to discover different offline channels. That could also be. Mamaearth has a brand called Dermaco. Dermaco has a few offline stores, and where their what do you call the person who sits at the store? Attendant or
yeah, probably.
Okay, promoter,
storekeeper.
Yeah, so they dress like their nurses. They have that green apron, or I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
So very, very, it's so. While I love B2B, there's so much to be understood about consumer brands when you work with them, and I've only started this journey recently. I worked with a consumer brand back in the day called Capiva when we were running an agency, Avalon Labs, before Avalon Meta. Very interesting how that happened, and that was also the time where I heard a quote from Kunal Shah. He was like, he has this Delta 4 theory, right? That products have to cause
irreversible behavior,
and also
Delta 4 plus
efficiency.
Yeah.
So as to sustain in the market. He also then I think he revised his theory over time. He was like, okay, efficiency is something that I've always looked at because that's how tech startups are born. But if you look at consumer companies, FMCG, these guys are able to sell not on efficiency but on status.
Yeah.
How different is Tide from a Rin or a Surf Excel? But Tide sells Safedi. When people differentiate on status and how they make you feel, and they're able to build brands on that differentiation, that's a whole different game.
Yeah.
That's what I heard from Kunal Shah in 2020 or 2019 when I was also working with Capiva.
But I think a lot of these theories are retrofitted, because at times the positioning comes just purely out of what's the gap in the market. Your competitors have taken every other space, then you don't have a choice but to go with, create a new sort of a meaning through a positioning or to just take the space that is there. You don't have too many other options.
But no, so what I'm saying is consumer brands don't have to play on efficiency. No, don't always have to play on efficiency. I mean, how efficient can you make food?
Sorry, how efficient can you make?
These things can't be made any more efficient, right? Like, how will you make your toothpaste any more efficient? Will you reduce the time it takes to brush your teeth? I mean, sure, but that's not how the biggest toothpaste brands are built.
True. It's not efficiency. It's something else. It's basically relatability.
It's taste, it's gel, it's some crystals in gel, it's something, it's close-up feel. It's, I don't know, they invented dandruff to sell shampoo. So it's a very different game there. Right. And I think, this is a world I wasn't exposed to, but I know now that as tech is getting commoditized, the way consumer companies know how to build brands will have to apply to software companies as well. So there's a lot that's going to be getting borrowed from FMCG companies and be put into software companies, because software companies are not going to be competing on efficiency anymore. They're going to be competing on stuff that FMCG companies compete with each other on. And not just FMCG, FMCD as well. Fast moving consumer durables like mobiles, your washing machine, your fridge. There's a great brand play to be there.
Right.
Cars. Purely sold on brand.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, even if you couldn't create content, there's one thing that you can do, or anyone can do who doesn't have time on their hands, is pay for the PR. Just like go get shown, or I mean get others to cover you, because one big video of 1 million views, number one, has a cascading effect. Actually, I don't think it's smart to do content from scratch if you're not visible. It's in fact smarter to be visible on multiple platforms.
And
Then this is, who's doing this game really, really well? Arjun Vaidya. Arjun Vaidya has
he sent me a DM. He said, I love your content. 100% it's his PR team. I'm still not buying that it's him. I'm meeting him on 26th. He's at the same event. I'll clarify.
So he's created very little content of his, but he's on every freaking podcast.
Every podcast.
So everyone knows him.
That's a great strategy.
That is the strategy. Why would you create your own content and invest so much money
100%.
and bandwidth? Because you're probably, going by averages, your 40th episode will get some prominence. Or your 100th episode will get some prominence, and
people don't
going
get there.
from that 100th, for whatever, 0th episode to 100th, or 0th episode to 40th episode is going to take so much time, which is more expensive than money.
100%.
You would rather just
appear,
get somebody to cover you at once. It's very necessary. I don't understand why people create content from scratch. In case, for visibility, to nahi karna chahiye. They should do it after they've gotten that first push by an external creator.
Agreed. I think
it's ads chala do. Run ads on your face. So
pay
for visibility. I think that's
we run ads. I think you guys did that in Avalon, if I'm not wrong. I remember getting Varun's first reel, which when he had like 2,000 followers on Instagram, and it said, "Hi, I'm Varun. I raised money."
So
blah, blah, blah. Perfect.
We did all that to get our collectively, Varun, Shashank, and I think the first 200k people that we got as followers were all driven by ads. Because we had to cut through
100%, and I think the number one strategy, in fact,
and this was pre-reels. So it's not like we had a growth hack called reels, wherein you're likely to get blown up.
In fact, I feel people look at ads and they're like, sometimes I get random DMs saying, "Oh, why are you promoting content?" I'm like, why not? Because it makes no sense.
Obviously, I value my time.
If you look at big brands also, if they make an ad and they spend, say, 1 crore on making the ad, they're spending 2 to 3 crores on distributing it.
Right.
It's always the case. Media is always
for
been
real, dude. My wife works with Homelane, and these guys shot a film with Dhoni, and obviously, it would have cost in crores. And I'm like, okay, this asset, you've not used it much. She told me that the lifetime value of that 3 or 6 minute combined film, multiple footages that come up to a total of 3 minutes or 4 minutes. She's like, the lifetime value of this is 2 years. This film is gonna last us 2 years. We're gonna use this in this IPL. We're gonna use it around the festive season. We're gonna use it in the next IPL. I'm like, interesting. Why do content creators not think of their content this way? Like, if Dhoni can come and make an ad which eventually amounts to like 3 minutes of final footage or final video, which can be used over 2 years. Why can't we think of it that way?
I think it's just down to the fact that most people who are creating content
they're not marketers.
They're not marketers.
They don't understand brand.
And marketers and people who understand brand don't have time to create content at that scale.
I wouldn't. They're busy working in agency, but they're also losing touch with social platforms.
That's 100%.
If they're doing
110%. That's another problem.
Marketers should become content creators. They're going to do a good job of it.
100%. Agree.
But content creators should learn a little bit of how brands are built. That's necessary, because creating content, because right now what's happening with this boom in content creation, everyone on LinkedIn is just they're not building brands of their own. They're just repurposing. They've become journalists, nameless, faceless journalists. Right now, I just see the news on LinkedIn. 10 people are talking about the same thing. Nobody's differentiating. Nobody's brand is being built. These guys are in the illusion that if they're getting likes and comments, somebody's valuing their content. It's not happening that way. Brands built differently.
True. I think this will hit a saturation at some point, because the reason I asked you about those UGC reels is the same reason, because that's the new trend now, right? In performance marketing, where everyone wants to take a creator and make content, and then that works. Problem is, some people are now templatizing it and creating a formula to make that work. The problem with that is, every brand that particular agency works with or that particular creator works with looks and feels the same.
Yes.
And that defeats the purpose of brand.
Also, I think, you should not clog one creator with too many brands. It's like, Virat Kohli. Today, I don't know which brand he really stands for.
True. 1-8. It's because of his number.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only one that maybe you didn't think of it. I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a reality.
I mean, so with Dhoni, I know
Sachin-
Dhoni's with Home Lane because, I mean, my wife works with Home Lane. Apart from that, Dhoni's everywhere.
Yeah, and this is where, a unique idea or a very unique story of a brand plays a role in. If you think of Sachin, I think I grew up in the 90s. I think of
Tendulkar.
Sachin, Boost.
Yes, and
Right?
MRF.
Yeah, MRF because of the bat, obviously, and after that, I think Kohli also got that.
Yeah.
Now I think
I don't know about that MRF association with Kohli. I have no idea. No remembrance.
his bat is MRF.
No idea.
So I think, and
It didn't click with me.
Yeah,
Zero
it didn't,
record.
but because it's already done with Tendulkar, we sold. So I think there was a very unique that Boost series of ads, right, that they did in the 90s around cricket, which had a great connect with him,
and
it worked.
Britannia with Rahul Dravid.
Yeah.
In fact, Craig did a great job by getting Rahul Dravid. Rahul Dravid, you don't see a lot with brands.
No, that's because I think he was sometimes coaching and then he's not available. Now he's back again. I think he's doing some more brands now. He's doing B2B. Salesforce. Yeah, Salesforce.
I mean, he's looked at as a professional, right? He will not lose his
And then you have Ganguly, 20 plus brands he's endorsing.
today.
You have no idea the number of brands he's endorsing in the eastern belt of
I have
India
no
in
idea.
vernacular.
Oh, he's
In
there are very
Bengali.
few people from there as well.
Yeah, but exactly, that's the reason.
And it's a good market, by the way.
Very.
I mean, I was surprised to look at the stats and figure out and know that Northeast is a great market for consumer brands.
So, would you ever go back and build a product again? Tech product.
You mean something that somebody needs to code and
Yeah.
build? I think it will be built by engineers of Microsoft and Google, and I will be the person who shapes it into something. So I'm basically saying that there's a lot of no code available. If I ever need to use anything, I can obviously subscribe to a SaaS
Right.
and do it. I don't know, but I'm right at this point. I'm more fascinated by consumer brands and what's going to happen of B2B, because I think B2B SaaS is going through some jittery times. B2B AI is going to come up, and in B2B AI, I'm more excited about. In the era that B2B AI will bring, I'm more excited about services because, when one person can do the job of 3 people in a services company, your margins tend to increase. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can, if it took you 10 people to do X work, now those 10 people can do 3X work powered by AI. Now your services company, which used to give linear revenue, it won't give you exponential revenue, but that curve is going to get better. That slope is going to become higher. You're going to make more revenue. So I think I'm more excited about B2B services and consumer brands. When I talk about consumer brands, consumables. And I do have a thesis on nutraceuticals. Brands that sell gummies and I've done a deep dive into brands like Fasten Up, Kapiva, Man Matters, Be Body Wise, etc. Because I think there's a good space here, and What's Up Wellness and I think one more What's Up Wellness and something else as well. Not Wellbeing Nutrition, but another brand. Ozaiva was acquired after a big scale, but What's Up Wellness was acquired pretty early. I also think that HULs of the world are also. Unilever in India, Unilever in other countries is already excited about this space. Unilever in India is also acquiring a few brands here.
Wellness?
Yes. Yeah. Emami acquired True Native. True Native makes some fibers, digestive fibers. So it's all getting into nutraceuticals.
And bigger...
And the margins are good here.
Yeah, and the bigger brands actually are...
You're talking 70% gross margins.
Right, possibly. Because I think bigger brands also getting into it. We know of a very big player who's actually now created another brand actually. Nobody in the world, nobody knows that it's associated with the big FMCG, but they're actually launching the gummy. What is the word? The technical
Nutraceutical?
term? Nutraceutical, is it the word? Yeah. So they're getting into that segment too. But their main business is not really in that category. But I think everyone's realizing that this is a great quote, right? Which is, you spend a lot of your time destroying your health to create wealth, then you reinvest that wealth into health. So I think we are in that phase as a society, at large. I think we are getting very, we're becoming very aware of the fact that health is important. And then if you look at the trends in the non-alcoholic beverage sector, right, that's been growing much faster. And if you look at the stagnation in alcohol, it's also proportionate to that. Yeah. So if you look at Gen Z today, they don't consume as much alcohol as the millennials did or the boomers did, for that matter.
Wow.
So I think every generation that's coming through is getting more educated, more aware. They're getting more healthier. Yeah. So I think they're more fitness driven. I remember when I was 21, 22, I think I knew 5 people in my circles who went to the gym. Today, I think everyone has some kind of recreational activity or format that they partake in. So I think as a collective society, we're moving that direction. So I think health will be a big thing in the future.
My excitement into consumer brand space comes from, of course, there's so much to learn about brands which will, end up everywhere. It'll also apply to software. Second is it comes from, I'm only excited about spaces that have high gross margins. Apart from that, I think my current focus is all on services. Like I told you, that if one person could produce X work, today he can produce 3X work, and I think there are good margins to be made there. So that's what I'm betting on for the next couple of years. But yeah, consumer brands definitely excite me. I think I need to dive deeper into what shapes these trends for people. Right now, I'm just only excited about margins.
Right. You also work with a lot of foreign brands, right?
Back in the day, yes.
Right. So I'm assuming a lot of foreign brand marketers too that you interacted with.
Yes. Yes and no, because most of these guys would be SMBs in the US who wouldn't have marketers. I have, in fact, off late worked with a few brands that sell to the US. And those marketers are a mix of Indian teams and American teams.
Right.
So yeah, that way, yes.
Got it. I anyway want to check with you, what has been your experience working with foreign brands? Is there a difference in the way they look at marketing versus how Indians do?
I don't think you can get a prominent role in a company that's based out of the US sitting in India, because you'll still be treated like the back office. In case you want to see how US market functions, there are a lot of companies in India who are selling to the US. So, and who have their headquarters in India. The founder, CEO,
right,
etc. sits in India. That's where you're likely to get a prominent role. And these companies exist more in B2B SaaS than anywhere else. So that would be a good place to look into these companies with. Right. And I've worked with marketers who sell to the US, but I haven't really worked with an amazing American marketer yet. No, I don't know.
Got it. Fair.
I think that ecosystem and the perception still has to develop, that Indians, and this is what Indian marketing ecosystem struggles with. Like the senior Indian marketers in any B2B company, they know that they're going to be replaced after a Series C or Series D. They're going to get a American CMO. I mean, I've not seen that play well either, but that does happen. People are still sticking by those playbooks.
Right. I can imagine why, because I feel culturally they are far more wired than we are in terms of
their market. Yes.
Yeah, I feel for just as a concept or introduction into marketing, right, in general.
I don't know about that.
I think selling. So, for example,
I think the thesis there is more about that. Hey, we're selling to America. Might as well get an American head of marketing. That's all that there is to it, because that guy is sitting there and he's sold enough software to America to also sell ours.
Fair.
I think that's more to do with it. It's not like we don't understand marketing. We do understand marketing. We probably don't understand the target audience there. There are certain nuances that we can't understand over the internet.
Right. Got it.
There are a lot of Indian marketers who've done well after settling into the US.
Right. Do you know any?
Sangram Vajre. This guy was the evangelist of demand base. There is Spotify's CMO. His name is Mayur. I think he's ex-CMO of Spotify. Yeah. His name is Mayur. You'll find.
What are your, so on the same note, what are your thoughts on LinkedIn though? Because we were just talking about it, the break where that everyone's starting to look like each other, right? In terms of starting to look more like a journalist than marketer. So what can people do differently according to you, if at all any?
So what makes Arnav Goswami different than other reporters?
I think he created a format first.
I don't know about
of
that.
Shouting.
Opinionating, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Arnab. I'm not correcting you, but he has opinionated journalism. Rajdeep Sardesai has his own opinion. Ravish Kumar has his own opinion. So don't shy from having your own opinion. That's what everyone tells to a brand as well. That's the conventional marketing wisdom as well. If you go to a brand, you tell them that have a stand for something. So people should also stand for something. They're just repurposing stories, and that's what the sudden boom of content creation has only done well to the social media platforms, not to the people who are creating content. They're just playing a game which they don't know much about. They're happy with the likes and comments. If you can opinionate and if you can have contrarian views, not forced contrarian views, but genuine views, which may be contrarian, which may be different and distinct from the people around you, I think you are known for that. You will become remarkable for that.
And is that the easiest way to now stand out? Contrarianism?
That is the easiest, but it should be genuine.
Or unless you have some sort of form of unique insights as a function of the
Sure,
work.
I mean there are various ways to stand out, but you got to have an opinion.
Right.
Contrarian may not be it, but you got to have an opinion. You got to have a story.
Right.
You got to have something that seems genuine and authentic. If you don't have that, you're just repurposing content.
Right. With AI coming in now, do you think that will solve for a lot of this problem, which is people can maybe with less effort find that unique insight, or maybe with a
But you're going to know that you need that, right? AI is not going to come and teach you that, hey, make it a little more opinionated. AI is just as good as, ChatGPT is just as good as the prompts that you give it.
Right.
So if you're not doing the deeper level of thinking, you're not getting deeper responses. How I prompt ChatGPT and how you prompt ChatGPT and how somebody else prompts ChatGPT, we're getting very different nuances. That's what this one Chamath said on a podcast recently, right? I think he was on All In or he was on My First Million, wherever he was. He was like, you can't teach AI, you can't teach taste to AI. Taste is always going to be your thing. So if the taste for content that I have, the taste for content somebody else has, that makes all the difference.
So tell me this.
Brands are all taste, right?
Exactly. So this is a very good point to ask you this, because a lot of marketers I speak to today think that you can just replace half the human functions you have with AI. It is doable if you have people who are maybe not, like you said, thinking the right direction or digging into nuance or trying to basically add or do what AI would do, which is basically gather more information or be precise with it. But at large, do you think you see tomorrow people creating agencies that can truly support and help build brands being driven with a significant workforce, which is AI?
I don't think agencies can build brands.
Fair.
Sorry.
I agree with you on this.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I think we can nudge, we can support, we can be catalysts.
I don't think even CMOs can build brands. I think the brand has to come from the core promoter of the business, ideally the CEO. The CMO can help execute it better, make it reach places that nobody thought it would reach. But the core narrative, the core taste of, and the core vision of what is to be built has to come from the person who's literally laid the foundation stone. And that's what differentiates a Lay's from a Bikaji to a Balaji to, whatever. It's sure, it's probably also the taste of the food, but it's also the taste of the brand. The colors they use, the perception they go after, the price point. It's all matching the taste of your audience.
If you said this to me 3 years back, I would have agreed with you. Now I think it's a little different.
Tell me more.
I'll tell you why. Because I feel, if you speak to people who have been in branding for a good 20 years or so, they always have this line that says a brand is always an extension of its promoter. And it's true.
Okay.
Right? Because generally when you name a brand or when you decide its personality, they always take inspiration from the promoter or the founder. I think in the last decade, because of internet and because how fast you can set up things and move, I think that's slowly getting phased out. And what if you look at now with the Unilever,
it doesn't have to be an extension. It has to
stem
meaning it has to be a core thesis or core work or core artifact written or coined by the promoter. It doesn't have to be like, okay, this is a consumer brand cannot be an extension of the personal brand of the promoter, right?
Sure.
It has to be your core work, and eventually people are taking it forward and systemizing it, and then making it, and obviously sashayizing. Adding the nuances to reach whatever audiences you have to reach.
Right. Fair. But I feel now what's happening is because if you look at a big something like a Unilever or
You're
a
right.
P&G,
I agree with you. Yeah.
I think they spot an opportunity
yes,
and they have a
they build
playbook.
a brand. Yes.
Yeah, because they have a playbook. And
Yes.
that playbook is independent of
You are right.
individuals.
I do not disagree.
Yeah. So I feel now they figured
Yes.
two ways of doing it.
Yes.
And now a lot of the internet first brands also are using the same, I feel.
That is true. You are right.
Yeah. So
You are right.
10 years ago, yes. I'm
Yes. So different channels, different scales, different products.
Yeah.
Everything works differently. There's
So-
too much nuance.
in that, and what I'm noticing also now, so there's basically somebody I know who shoots a lot of videos for performance marketing, right? Half of the script are written by AI. So
Yeah. But you really got to deliver well. I've seen people
Yeah.
do a terrible job of delivery.
yeah, so
Delivery is the
exactly.
thing.
But I also feel like we were discussing, nuance is something or taste is something, because in brand half the time it's taste. You want to
Yeah.
show something to somebody in a certain treatment style. So if you don't have that, then it becomes hard to differentiate. You might get away with one performance creative reel that is generating 3x ROAs, whatever, but that 3x ROAs will definitely drop to 2 in a matter of few weeks or months at best. And then that same thing won't work. And if you try creating something, because AI, I think I don't know if today, for example, I haven't played around with it enough. I don't know if AI can create unique tastes. Maybe it can if the prompts are that sharp. But at a very general level, I think it'll struggle to. If you take the
In
average.
those cases, in case you want to move fast, it's always wise to copy from a geography that your audience isn't exposed to. I mean, Preetham does it for a lot of his music. No?
Yeah, fuck. It's
And
crazy.
music is all taste.
There's a whole YouTube video series dedicated to his ripoffs. There's a famous song in Bodyguard, I think. It's some
I mean, he's
Croatian
found
music.
a way to scale himself.
Yeah.
What's wrong in that?
Absolutely. I'm just like surprised that he's not been sued by anybody so far.
Parani, he's probably been careful around that.
I don't know, maybe. But it's incredible how he has done that.
He scaled himself.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
no original person will scale so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since we're on the subject of marketing, I have to ask you, did you follow the elections, US elections?
Yes.
What do you think of Trump and his...
I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing a lot.
Not of his political, what do you call it, vote of confidence, but more from a marketing standpoint, the things he did.
I think... okay, so I don't know. There's a lot of there's a lot of after narrative that I'm seeing that how digital influenced the outcome heavily, but I don't know. And I won't be too quick to put my finger on it because LinkedIn jumps fast to conclusions and lessons. So do journalists. I don't know if digital really did something, because we also love to give a lot of credit of our elections to digital. But I don't know if first of all, I don't understand the geography and the composition and the homogeneity of America to understand if digital really influenced it. And second is, having come out of this startup bubble where digital is everything to offline is everything, and then also coming to realization of 90% of India earns this much, 80% of India is living in these towns, and this is how you reach them. As you educate so much, I mean, as I educate myself more and more, I'm just very slow to interpret things. I don't know what happened, but I do think the persona of Trump has always been very I mean, it's not a
politician
smooth enough to permeate through a lot of people, which is great. And he's polarizing. He's opinionated, and he's a fun character. He knows how to do the drama, and that really helps.
Yeah.
Obamas and Bidens and Kamala Harrises of the world are too sophisticated to play the massy game. So yeah,
I think he's at the heart not a politician. I think that works for
possibly,
him. Yeah. But I think two things I thought in this election was solid. One, when he drove the garbage truck because the opposition called him and his audience
one
garbage.
where he got shot.
Yeah, that I think wasn't marketing, but
I mean, it had its effects.
The second one I think is him appearing on Rogan's episode. I think that was solid. I think that was. I watched the whole thing. I felt.
I don't know how much it would have influenced Twitter. Yes, possibly. I don't know how much Joe Rogan had an effect.
No, I think he had I think that was a record breaking in terms of views that it achieved. But I think what
I know,
made a
but people
difference,
are quick to attribute everything to everything.
Sure, fair. I think the style in which him running for a such an, I think, the most important political position in the world actually, and then he was so candid on that chat, and anything he asked, he spoke about it. Be it policy to like some of those criminal charges to even aliens, whatever was asked, he answered everything. And I feel next elections here, we'll see that as a huge factor. I wouldn't be surprised if a Modi or a Rahul Gandhi equivalent
Rahul
appears
Gandhi
on.
has done a great job in this election on social.
But
by
this
the way.
time, I can bet you that whoever's the prime ministerial candidate will be on a beer biceps or a Raj or a.
And the ministers are already
Ministers
on.
are, but I am pretty. But right now, if you look at them, they're all ones who are maybe a level.
Rahul
or
Gandhi
two
was
below.
with curly tails.
Yeah, but there was that segment he did, no, on the food and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel that's not really.
You're saying the candidates will also start coming.
Yeah. And also I feel they will take tough questions. The first person to
I
do
don't
that.
know about that.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. But the first one to do it will make a difference.
I don't know. I don't know how effective digital is. I really don't know. I am putting big question marks on it. Sure, I mean, we're going through a pivotal moment where, people are going heavy on digital. I'm not saying that I'm anti-digital, but I'm also not going to...
Is there a problem of ROI or is there something else problem?
I don't know how much... India is not that homogeneous that you can control it with the same personality, same channels. US is very homogeneous. They all speak English. They all watch Joe Rogan. I mean, I can assume that.
No,
Safe to assume.
it's changing a little bit over there also because I feel now there's
By India,
Hispanic.
India, you have local influencers that are very powerful.
Yeah.
You have superstars that are very powerful. Rajkumar, right? Puneet Rajkumar.
Yeah.
I mean, you still see photos of him in Bangalore. When I was in Delhi, I didn't know of him. He's worshipped here. I didn't know of him. India is not homogeneous.
Yeah, for sure.
India is a land of multiple countries.
But I think there's a link coming in, at least if you're right, the fact that if you can create content on vernacular, for example, that will create a huge difference than just being available in English or Hindi. That's definitely there for at least political aspirants. But I think AI will solve that for you. Language is no longer a matter.
I don't know. I want to see. I'm not going to be...
So I watched the new Rajnikant movie. Amitabh Bachchan is in it.
Okay. And it's well dubbed.
No, it's his voice. They used AI.
Okay.
That's what I heard. I mean, they used his AI.
Fair. I want to see how effective it is.
It's solid. I'm telling you.
I want to see how effective in the consumer's perception it is.
Yeah, but that's
sure, you're a consumer who's talking to me about it and telling me it's solid, but I'm not going to overextend.
Fair.
I've been very exposed to the heterogeneity of India over my upbringing. I've grown up in at least 10 different states in India. I think India is very heterogeneous. A Beer Biceps podcast only touches less than 1% of India.
100%.
So, I mean, very, very, very different people. And also, age groups are very different. Economic strata is very different. Language is very different. Sure, there's digital everywhere because of geo, but still very heterogeneous.
But it's always been that case, right? And then there have been so many success stories.
Of what?
Of be it politicians or be it brands, be
Tell
it
me one
stars.
nationwide politician. The Modi still struggles in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, Tamil Nadu he does.
Why?
That's because I think Tamil Nadu in general do not look at
So I'm sure there are different sects like this as well.
Possibly, but you don't have to have 100, right? The tipping scale is at anything above 50, for example.
But he still needs Nitish Kumar and Chandrababu Naidu to form the government.
Yeah, but he didn't need it the last 2 times, for example. So I think that's also...
But
that's
certain
very
states
nuanced.
still didn't tip in BJP's favor.
Kerala and Tamil Nadu have never voted for BJP.
Yes.
Yeah, but that'll always be there. But for example, actors, right? Everyone knows Amitabh Bachchan. Everyone knows Shah Rukh Khan.
I would be more willing to double click if you say that, sure, there'll be 20 different leaders who'll double down on digital and they'll become prominent figures. Yes. I would be more inclined to double click when you say there'll be micro sort of influencers. Yes. But if you're telling me that there's going to be one big guy, I don't know. I'm not too sure about it.
I think
I'm not anti, but I'm skeptical.
Yeah. No, I think it's also down to political climate, and Modi, I feel in 2014 really worked because there was hope attached to him.
Anti-incumbency. That's
Yeah,
what they
exactly,
call it.
right? It is that, exactly.
Huh.
So I feel anyone at that point competing against Congress would have won. But I feel...
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Modi brought a certain kind of demeanor.
100%. The validation of his work in Gujarat helped.
But I don't know if,
I think he'll do one
I think
more
it
term.
was, the Gujarat model was marketed really well.
Yeah.
I still don't know what that model is though.
Yeah,
But it's in everyone's head,
Yeah,
you know?
true.
So I don't know what really happened in Gujarat. I'm not being...
But that's also a win, right? From a marketing lens. They've done
yes,
something right.
Yeah. You had a new product
Yeah.
to throw in the market with a new slogan. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Like this is the Tolstoy village. Now we'll make the world like this.
True. My hunch is Modi will do one more term. My hunch. He'll be
Possibly.
78, I think, by the time, 77, 78 by the time he contests.
So he'll be 83.
That's what Trump is now.
Trump is 83. Are you kidding
Trump
me?
is 77, 78 now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's, I think, a year or two younger than Biden. Biden is what?
That's
70?
it?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Biden is 82.
So Trump is 78, 79, I think.
No,
something like that.
Trump is at least 4-5 years
Yeah,
younger.
I think he's 78.
So 4 years younger.
So he'll be 82 when he finishes.
Very nice, dude. He's nearing 80.
Yeah. But I think he's healthy. You can see it in him that he's got his energy and he was campaigning non-stop. So I think Modi has the same energy and power. So,
Yeah.
And I don't see anyone else having a stature like that in BJP. So he might do one more term. In that, because if it's last, he might just appear on all podcasts. Never know.
Possibly. I mean, you should do that. He's appearing on all news channels for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But news channels, yesterday I was seeing India Today has its own podcast.
Yeah. A9 News has one, no? It's Pradeep Prakash.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's picking
That's
up.
doing really well. Yeah.
So I think channels are also going to adapt.
Yeah.
And they are adapting.
So
They're
this
slow to adapt.
In 2017, I remember telling some of my clients then that the minute you're on any of these platforms, you're all media companies.
Yeah.
And you have to start working and thinking with that in mind. And you also have to, and so I believe every single brand business in the world tomorrow will have some form of content or some kind of a publishing game. Some might choose to do it through video format on YouTube.
Can I give you
Some
an
might
anti-take on this?
Sure.
I think 90% of the companies should not do
100%.
social
I agree
media.
with you that also.
They should not do social media at all because their social media is so ineffective.
Yeah.
They're standing to gain nothing out of it. They're probably spending, on an average, they're spending 2 lakhs a month on their minimum, yeah. I don't think they should do any of it.
Yeah.
They should do ads and they should do influencers.
Which is what Apple did, no, for the longest time. They were not on social media, I think, till 2018 or something like that. Then
I don't. There's so many invisible companies who are spending on social media. I'm like, you stand to get nothing out of it.
yeah.
Instead, if you just combine all your social media budget for 1 year and put it into one influencer for just once a year, that would have so much better ROI than
Sure.
what
Exactly.
you're doing.
But I think that requires solid conviction. That requires clear vision from a marketing.
So you're
lens.
actually now taking an anti-stance that not every, barely any company has to be a media company. Okay, you can be a media company, but you don't have to create your own content.
No, I think it's so. I think you can be anywhere in the spectrum. You say everybody is, and so I am going to be, or you say everybody is, so I'm not going to be.
No,
But you have to.
You can
play it
have your
out.
media presence by getting media to talk about you, but you don't have to create content.
So the problem. I mean, I'm not saying if you're at the mercy of somebody else to further your agenda, then you're always at the mercy of somebody else.
But that's
You
how
wanna
we've
take the
lived for the
power back.
longest time. No, I understand this is the narrative that a lot of founders pushed into the ecosystem, saying that hey, media can portray me howsoever, so I'm going to have my own voice. But I mean, if that's not that big a risk to you.
Unless you're
It doesn't usually
operating
happen.
at a scale where you're not at the top, but you're just about
Tell me
there.
Adar Poonawala. Adar Poonawala, what's his name?
The Serum Institute.
COVID
guy, right?
vaccine guy,
He
yeah.
bought Dharma now.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so you're saying that's his media play, is it?
I have no idea.
Now we'll
honestly.
see movies about healthcare in
No
India.
idea. I think Dharma's numbers were not great last 3 years. If you look
I know what the story
but,
was,
yeah.
but are you telling me that? Okay, possibly. But I really don't think that everyone's going to be. You don't always have to be worried about what people are going to talk about you.
So to rephrase what I said is, I believe
I
everybody
mean, I don't
will.
think Lay's business has dropped or Frito. What is that company? PepsiCo's business has dropped because of Revant. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think the person who's gained the most is Revant only. I don't think anyone's lost significantly. Apart from, I mean, there were a few miscalculations that happened, but I don't think anyone's lost significantly.
Fair. No,
I mean, Bonvita just did fine without having a media presence of their, having or not having a media presence of their own.
True. But I think for a new Bonvita, it'll be hard to do that.
Why?
Because I feel
They're too young.
No, I think there's
make a different product. No, be a little more aware of where the market is.
Which comes back to the fact that then there's the same thing, right? Which is you can either do 0 to 1 or you can do 1 to 1. 0 to 1 is a new category, new product. 1 to 1 is a replica, but you package it differently. Which is what all even.
Why can't 0 to 1 be differentiation?
Exactly. So 0 to 1 is differentiation. No, but not everyone can do 0 to 1. It's a skill issue.
Differentiation is not that hard.
Somewhere I think so. Yoga Bar and Whole Truth similar.
Yeah, but I'm saying differentiation is not. You can find a way to different. There's so many brands at any one point in so many categories. Differentiation. Everyone has their own differentiation, but and that's not hard. You can like a Tata Agni. What is that? Jagore campaign. Which brand plays on it?
Tata Tea.
Tata Agni. I think it's called Agni.
Maybe.
There's also Tetley. These are both Tata brands. One appeals to a separate consumer. This one appeals to a separate consumer. I'm asking you, are you saying that what would a 0 to 1 be like? Okay, so I have to change the form factor. I have to give you mixed tea instead of giving you tea leaves.
Possibly, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think form factor is very compulsory either.
Like, for example,
I've seen brands do well without differentiating on form factor. Like, sure, making melatonin into gummies was a great idea. But now are you saying that somebody has to make melatonin protein shake? I don't think that's going to fly. I think there's space for more brands to just play by selling more melatonin and sleep gummies. You don't always have to do 0 1.
Sure.
They can be flavored gummies.
Adoption is still hard. So if you can create a habit out of a product, great, it'll work. If you don't, then you need to keep spending on recall.
That's where we got to move. I don't think the differentiation for the sake of differentiation serves nobody. But differentiations for the sake of easier adoption by understanding the consumer, sure, there's something in that. But I would much rather consume a melatonin gummy than a melatonin tablet.
Right. But see, that's a very product level innovation.
Okay.
When you talk it from a marketing and communication lens, you can only play with what you have.
So just talking about sleep gummies, I would kill the use of melatonin and I would use some herb from Himalaya, like a Brahmi or something, and I'll make Brahmi gummies.
Yeah, but again, that's at a product level, I'm saying. So as a marketer, I can't influence
Brahmi, if I use Brahmi, then I'm going to be playing the natural angle, no? Then say no to chemicals.
Sure. But then, for example, if you were manufacturing that and if I was doing a communication, that decision will need to come from you, not from me. I can still figure out positioning for you and I can tell you to do YouTube and stuff like all that for the purpose of being, recall factor being there and you being heard and aware.
But that's because it's my money that's getting invested, right? Exactly. I mean, even if you had the best idea and I said no to it, you would have to agree because, again, the business is mine. You're an advisor.
Yeah.
But what's the point here?
No, what I'm trying to get to is if you want to make a differentiation in the product level, that will need to come from you.
That's true.
Communication differentiation I can create.
Yeah.
And typically if you look at the strategy to be on YouTube or not to be on YouTube or to create content or not is a communication call. It's actually not a business product call.
I agree.
And I also feel brands or promoters don't need to be involved in that.
Communication?
Yeah. I feel appoint somebody.
Just give the origin story and let me handle.
Yeah. No, as in appoint someone to do that for you.
Yeah.
You focus on the business. Yeah. Let them focus on the marketing.
Because that's amplification of the story. Yeah. Fair enough. That's why CMOs exist, no?
Yeah. The concept of
getting the product differentiation or the business differentiation. Actually, let's not call it product differentiation. Business differentiation. That has to come from the businessman. And when you try a few experiments, you become seasoned and you get the clarity of which one.
Or from a consultant.
Yeah, but I think if you've tried enough, you will have a sense of how to attack market. If you've seen some success, you will have developed a hunch. Which is why consumer entrepreneurs who actually sell consumables, I think they're a breed that we rarely learn from, and we should. I think tech has overpowered the narrative too much without giving us successful businesses. I think
This is a good place to ask you this, which is, do you think they are real businesses, these tech businesses that don't make profits and are running on the back of venture funds?
they are indeed businesses, but what is the outcome? The ideal outcome for a venture funded business is either you sell like a Flipkart or list like a Zomato, or do something at least half as good as this, because that's the ultimate outcome that a VC is seeking, right? You're playing the VC game, so get the VC outcomes. So what now? There's also a breed of businesses that are that I don't think they're the best favorites of VCs, which are consumer brands, but they still raise some capital, and they're meant for a acquisition somewhere midway. I think we need to learn a lot from those brands. The Yoga Bars of the world, the Kapivas of the world, and even the old brands like Balaji's of the world, the Bikaji's, Haldirams of the world. They really know something, because it's not a joke to get so many consumers to repeatedly buy your product. I mean, the tech product managers and the tech growth people like to talk about acquisition or awareness, acquisition, retention, revenue, blah blah blah, referral, whatever that is. Who's really doing a good job of it? Right. Every fucking consumer brand is doing a great job of it. Like a Haldiram Bhujia has acquisition awareness sorted for it. Consumption happens, retention happens, repeat purchase also happens. Why don't we look at it that way? There's so much to be learned. I mean, and the way they've done it, I think tech can borrow so much, right? Because you're tackling the same audience. It's not like product user is any different from a consumable consumer, right?
Great. Man, this has been great. I have somewhere to be, or else I would have done this for another one and a half hours.
This is good.
We should do this again sometime. I want to pick this particular piece of it because until a few years ago, I was very bullish that if a business didn't make profit, it's not a real business. Right? Because that's what I was taught in college on day one of marketing class. So, I mean, world's changed, so my views have also. But we'll pick up on this for sure. We'll do another session on this.
This was good. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I hope you had fun.
I did.
And thanks for showing up, even though you seem a little unwell.
I've been unwell for a while. I'm fine. Thanks.
Great.